Hello, my friends. I recently told you about a situation where an account was reporting reaction channels for privacy violations. They hit Abigail and they hit Studio Deets with a lot of them, and they were trying to get a bunch of videos taken down. And at the time, we didn't know whose privacy was supposedly being violated, and we really didn't know much about what was going on, but it sure seemed like Amber was involved, at least somehow. A lot of comments were floating around by this normal difference, and a lot of the comments sounded like Amber. Some of them sounded like they could be Emily, but all of it was very fishy. And if you want to see some more of those comments, check out my last video on this. I will put a link in the description, and I'll put one here in the corner too. Well, we've gotten some more information, and I wanted to share that with you because it gets even more kind of weird and stupid. So if you'd like to like and subscribe, that would literally be hectic. I'm not gonna lie. So we know that Abigail had one video removed, and Studio Deets, like I said, had a ton of complaints, but hasn't heard anything yet from YouTube. But since then, I actually have talked to Mr. Snowflake as well. Because, and you'll never believe this, but he received about 8 privacy complaints at the same time as Studio Deets and Abigail. And just in case you were wondering, Mr. Snowflake said he's pretty busy right now with other things. He's not able to talk about the Amberverse as much as he'd like, but he did give me the go-ahead to tell you guys about this because he would like for people to know that it's happening. And after speaking with Mr. Snowflake, speaking with Studio Deets, and them kind of comparing notes as well, we all have sort of put our heads together, and it has become pretty clear that it is all related to Crystal's family. Now, I want to just sort of think about this for a little bit because why now? This doesn't make a whole lot of sense. What are the odds that after being in Amber's videos all this time, and really just in the background, they are barely ever mentioned. I don't even know if they're ever mentioned by name very much, other than by Amber in those videos. But why would Crystal's family come out and privacy strike these videos now, after them being online for a decade or more, right when Amber decides to disappear from YouTube and has all this free time? It just seems really strange. The timing is weird. And then on top of that, why would they go after reaction channels when they know that the reason they are on the internet, the reason their faces have been shown in any video at all, was because of Amber uploading videos? They know Amber personally. So it's not like they wouldn't know who to talk to or who to go after to get their faces off the internet. And another thing that I think I mentioned in my last video, but it was a little bit of a red flag, was Studio Deets received a message or a comment saying, honestly, I haven't seen any other reactors do what you did. You have no respect for anyone at all. And I have watched a lot of Studio Deets videos, and I've talked to Studio Deets, and during the Crystal era, I think the most she said about Crystal and her family was that they don't like Amber. That's it. So this person, this normal difference, is trying to make Studio Deets seem like a monster when she didn't do anything. She didn't really say much about them at all. They were just there in the background. The stories weren't about Crystal's family, other than the fact that Amber was a leech and a mooch. So that just doesn't make any sense. That Crystal's family would decide to come after Studio Deets like that. Now, I could be completely off base. Maybe I'm missing something, and maybe there is a logical explanation for why Crystal's family would be doing this, and it also doesn't make sense to go after Mr. Snowflake for all the same reasons. But I would say it's more likely that Amber, at some point, learned about privacy violation complaints and either was told or kind of realized that that would be an easier way to go after reaction channels, because at first we thought it was just Abigail and Studio Deets, but it's also Mr. Snowflake. So it is clear somebody's targeting reaction channels. And keep in mind, Mr. Snowflake is obviously the final boss.
The Snowflake, like literally the final boss. Snowflake, title that your next video because seriously, you were the final boss that like literally broke me.
But also, Studio Deets has been pretty friendly to Tammy and made a couple of videos that deep dive into the relationship between Amber and Tammy, especially through comments online that make Amber look not great. So there's another reason Amber would want to come after Studio Deets. The only thing that sort of goes against my theory here is I'm not sure what Abigail has to do with anything other than the fact that she's an easy target because she did cover some crystal stuff and Amber might have just known about that, you know? But here's my theory is that Amber found out that privacy strikes were easier than copyright strikes. And I think in her infinite wisdom, which, I mean, I guess it kind of worked because Abigail got her video taken down. But I think Amber's logic here was going after videos that have Crystal's family in them would probably be the easiest way to do this because Crystal's not going to come forward. She knows that. Crystal's not going to come defend reaction channels. Crystal's not involved. And Crystal's family probably doesn't even know what's happening. So I think while Amber has this free time, she's thinking, what is the easiest way to go after reaction channels? And I think this is what she has landed on. And to an extent, it's kind of worked, except Mr. Snowflake said that he's going to just blur out the faces, which that's easy enough. But Studio Deets has received so many complaints that it's hard to even keep up with them. And it was all of Crystal's family, apparently, that was in question, you know. And on top of everything else, I also wanted to just point out that Normal Difference, the account that had made all of the comments, and we don't know if this is the account that made the initial complaints to YouTube. Studio Deets has tried to find out, but YouTube hasn't responded. And that's another kind of good news, bad news situation for Studio Deets because it's sort of like no news is good news, I think. But they have not said anything to Studio Deets. They have not replied to the appeals. Abigail got one pretty quickly and the video was removed. So I think maybe it's a good sign that they haven't said anything to Studio Deets yet, but because they haven't said anything, Studio Deets just doesn't know who actually filed the complaints. But Normal Difference does not exist anymore. The account has been deleted, which is not surprising considering they admitted flat out to being a sock account or an account created just to troll, basically, just to talk to Studio Deets and stir the pot, so to speak. And who has time to do that? And this just shows how much free time this Normal Difference has. Magisterial Voyager says 57 comments in Deets' channel within 13 hours is crazy. I guess I'm not the only one who is so friendless and jobless, though. Normal Difference says, what can I say? I'm off and caffeinated. I mean, that is a lot of comments to be making to Studio Deets. And again, I don't remember Studio Deets ever saying anything negative about Crystal or her family or anything other than they just didn't like Amber and that Amber was mooching off of them. So I just wanted to give you this update because after speaking with Mr. Snowflake and finding out that he actually received some too, it's clear that whoever is doing this, I'll give you two guesses, and they are probably both right because you're probably going to guess Amber and Emily, and I think they're probably working together. Or it could be Alexis. Honestly, Amber mentioned Alexis a little bit before she left.
Alexis texted me and said something about, actually, I'll just read it. Tammy going on third Jordy live stream is crazy work. She is bored. And I was like, huh? Because I only remember her doing two.
And I can absolutely see Alexis getting in on this and making all these comments and helping Amber because for whatever reason, I think Alexis really wants to either be Amber's friend or more than that. Gross. But anyway, it's clear whoever it is targeting reaction channels. But the crazy thing is, what she doesn't understand is if reaction channels were to disappear she would become completely irrelevant pretty quickly. Because think about all the times that she gets the most money and the most views are when the reaction channels are letting people know what kind of drama is going on. Whether it's the Emily tell all, whether Tammy's talking to Jordy, or like when we find out that Amber has lied about something, all of a sudden, our views go up, her views go up. She gets all this extra money and stuff. But without that, she is so boring that people would stop being interested in her very quickly. She can't create drama on her own. She relies on reaction channels to bring the drama to the forefront, and then she gets the views from the rising tide, so to speak. So she's shooting herself in the foot here. And if the lawsuit goes through, and if Tammy wins, which, by the way, it seems as though she is suing for $10,000 and a public apology, which I am here for. I love that. And I'm going to guess the case is probably going to happen over Zoom. A lot of kind of smaller cases happen over Zoom nowadays. But if it is in person, I will be there. I will do whatever I can to make sure that I'm there, unless it's during a vacation or something like that. Obviously, I can't cancel a vacation for that. But if I'm able to, I will absolutely be there, and I will take as many pictures as I can outside the courtroom. But all of that was just to say that if the lawsuit goes through and Tammy wins, Amber's going to need as much money as she can get. And shooting herself in the foot by getting rid of reaction channels is not the best idea. She's going to need to surf that rising tide as much as she can while it's there. And I get that Tammy's case is a long shot. Slander is very hard to prove. Amber made it about as easy as you can, but even then, I don't know, man. It is always going to be a long shot. But I think Tammy's got about as good a case as you can have given the circumstances. So maybe, even if she doesn't believe it, maybe Amber should just pretend like we have a symbiotic relationship and leave it alone so that she can profit and actually survive if Tammy ends up winning. But I just thought this was interesting because Amber is staying busy, but even if this works, I don't think it's going to have the effect that she thinks it does. And I think going forward, she might need all the money she can get. So I will keep an eye on it and let you know if anything happens. If Mr. Snowflake has any more news, I will let you know. Appreciate you guys so much. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.